Alright, this video is about a sexual assault that occurred in Chicago. It's in Rogers Park, which is basically where my martial arts school is located. It's in Rogers Park. Happened on Jarvis by the Red Line train station. The Red Line train station is basically right where my school is. My school is on the Howard train line, and the Red Line, Howard Street. Jarvis is just not too far from the Howard Street. This happened on December 19th, 2015. Just happened. Just gonna read it real quick. So the attack happened about 4:40 a.m. Saturday after the Red Line train stopped at the Jarvis Avenue station. 25-year-old woman left the train and was walking on the 1400 block of West Jarvis when Anderson grabbed her from behind. He displayed a handgun and forced the woman to a secluded area where he robbed and sexually assaulted her. So basically they ended up finding the guy because they put out a surveillance footage of the guy and somebody recognized him, and then they convinced him to turn himself into the police, and then he turned himself into the police, and the judge denied bail for the person. I mean, this is the reason why I bring this up is because this is like real life stuff. I mean, this is something where you read from an article. It's not something where, there's like HD cameras where you see everything going on, you see the sexual assault going on, and it's for entertainment. This is not entertainment. This is like real life violence, and this is what we need to prepare for. The difference between like preparing for street violence opposed to just like fighting, for ego and pride in combat sport. This is not boxing. This is not, hey, let's go in for a weigh-in to make sure that we all weigh the same weight, and that it's man against man and woman against woman, and make sure that it's a fair fight, and let's wear protective gear and all this nonsense. This is like real life stuff. I mean, this guy right here, it's a man attacking a woman. That's already an unfair fight in itself, and in addition, he had a gun on top of that. So he has a gun, he's a man, and then he's attacking a woman. He rapes the woman, he robs her, and then the police get involved. He gets put in jail. He might be in jail for the rest of his life. He might be in jail for 30 years. I mean, we don't know. I mean, this is the reality of what it is out there in the streets, and this is the reality of what we need to prepare for. So when I train women in martial arts, in self-defense, I'm always training them to prepare against a violent confrontation with a man, because it's usually the man that's going to attack her, not another woman that's the same height, same weight, same age, same skill level. No, a woman is going to be attacked by a man, and if you're a man, you're going to be attacked by somebody that's bigger than you, larger than you, stronger than you. Somebody that might have a weapon. You have to know what to do. You have to be prepared for that. And out there in the streets, even in this case in particular, a gun was involved. And they didn't mention whether or not this gun was legally, if he obtained this gun legally. I assume he had the gun illegally. But they don't advertise that. Every time there's a mass killing, they always advertise, he illegally obtained the firearms. Well, what about all these other violent things that happen all over the world with people that obtain the firearm illegally? They don't mention that because then they don't have a solution to the answer, because their solution all the time when there's a mass shooting is, we need greater gun control. Okay, so go ahead, go have greater gun control. Will that stop gun violence? No. People out there still find a way to get these guns illegally, and then they harm people that are good people. So how do we protect these people that are good people? Obviously the police were not there when she was getting raped and robbed at gunpoint. The police did not help her. She at that moment had to help herself. And this is a wake-up call for everybody out there, men and women, to realize the difference of street survival training opposed to just training to win some egoistic competitive fight, thinking that, hey, I'm so cool now because I was able to tackle somebody or I punched somebody. You know, real street survival training is very, very, it's different. Okay, and a lot of times it's going to involve a firearm. And how could have this woman survived this? Well, first off, maybe if she made some better decisions. Walking around at that time of day, 4 in the morning, I don't know where she just came from, but a woman by herself maybe shouldn't be out that late. If she's going to be out that late, maybe she should be with a man, her husband, her boyfriend, who's armed himself, who could protect her. Other than that, 4:40 in the morning, she shouldn't be out there. That's like me letting my 10-year-old child out there at 4:40 in the morning. No. Not 4:40 in the morning. Even my 10-year-old child can't even go out there at all, really, without my supervision, unless he's with me or my wife or with somebody in the school. But it's like the people that need to be protected, they need to make smart decisions. Now, if you're a man and you're walking out there and you're armed and it's 4:40 in the morning, well, you're armed and you're a man and you're trained to deal with these types of violent situations. I'm not going to say, hey, if that 25-year-old woman was armed, maybe things would have been different. But just because you're armed doesn't mean you know what to do. It's not just as simple as, oh, just go buy a gun. No, it's like, it takes a lot of training in order to know how to use that gun properly and safely and tactically. Because, if she has a gun, she could have accidentally shot herself. She could kill herself by accident. She could be depressed and then end up using it as a way to commit suicide. Her child could get a child could get a hold of a gun and kill himself. I mean, it's not just about just buying a gun and having a gun. It's about training with the gun, being aware with it, and being very tactical, being very safe. But if you're not, then maybe, you're with somebody that is trained, that can protect you in these sorts of situations. If you have the option of getting a job where you come home at 4 in the morning or whatnot, or you just get a daytime job, maybe it's better to get the daytime job. Just making smarter decisions. Don't take your safety for granted. Like, pay attention to who's following you. Pay attention to your surroundings. Maybe if she would have sensed that somebody's following her, maybe she could have started running. Maybe she could have ran into a place where there's other people around that could have helped her. Maybe instead of choosing a walkway where it's very dark, maybe choose a walkway where there's more light and there's other people around. Good thing that there's a surveillance camera at the train station. Otherwise, they might not have ever even caught this person, because they ended up getting the photograph of the person, and then they ended up having people able to identify this individual. But, maybe if she was trained in martial arts, things could have been different. Maybe she would have made smarter decisions. Maybe she would have been like, hey, I'm not going to be out that late. Or I'm going to be fit and strong enough to really run away from the person. Or just basically position herself in a position herself more tactically, so then this wouldn't have happened. Choosing which routes to take. Just think about driving. Like, when you're driving, you got to know which roads to take. You take a certain road that's not a good way, then you end up meeting a lot of traffic. Or you take a certain route, and then all of a sudden that route, the gravel's not good, and then it ends up messing up your car. You end up getting a flat tire. Or you choose another route, and then there's a lot of police vehicles in that route and then you get caught for speeding. Or you choose another route and then basically, you know, you get to the place faster because there's less stoplights, there's less stop signs. It's just basically choosing routes very intelligently so then you will have a better outcome in whatever goal that you wish to achieve, which is to get to point A to point B. Well, when you're walking, tactically, it's like choosing good routes, maybe not having headphones on, being aware of your surroundings, make sure you're looking around, make sure you know who's behind you, make sure you know who's ahead of you, make sure you know which areas you could run to if there's danger. You know, just being aware of all these things is important. And then also when the sexual assault is occurring, knowing how to survive that situation. If she would have been trained, if she's armed or not armed, or she's trained, it could have been different. Maybe while he's trying to sexually assault her, she ends up killing him, shooting him to death, stabbing him to death, choking him to death. You know, like so many different things, so many different factors, but it's hard to analyze this because you don't know exactly what happened. There's no video that shows everything that happened. No. There's no video that even shows a little bit of what happened. All it says is, hey, you know, he followed her, grabbed her from behind, displayed a gun, put her in a secluded area, raped her, robbed her, took off. You know, but you don't see the specifics in order to analyze how the situation could have been a different outcome. This is all relevant to people that really train in survival on the streets, that really train in wushu, like analyzing the situation to figure out more tactical ways of survival. But I wanted to use this as an example to show that this is exactly what I train to prepare for, and also what I train my students to prepare for. Now, I don't ever plan to have this happen to me, but I also envision that I witnessed something like this happening, where a woman is literally getting raped but at gunpoint, and you're walking by, you see, what do you do? And no, I'm not saying to just be a superhero and jump in between when you have no gun and then you get shot and killed yourself. No, I'm saying if you're armed, you could prevent that. You could have apprehended him there right on the spot, being armed, or you potentially could have shot and killed him. But then if you shoot and kill him, then you gotta deal with the courts, and then you gotta explain to the judge on why you are justified in shooting and killing this person. And it's gonna be a lot of money involved, so be prepared for that too. There's a lot of things, you know, to consider. You know, what would you do if a man was raping a woman at gunpoint and you saw? What would you do? Call the police? Maybe that would have been the best. Get a description of him, visual description, call the police, see where he takes off to, maybe even potentially follow him without him knowing that you're following him, to make sure that he gets apprehended by the police. Or you can even take a picture of him or videotape him. If you have a gun, then hey, you know, maybe you could have stopped it at that moment with that gun. But this is the real life stuff here. This is not combat sport.